All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Peter McCarthy, and I'd like to welcome you all to our very first webinar series. And we are going to be conducting both training and this industry leadership interview or interviews on a regular basis. Having been involved in the pest control industry for 30 years, I'm really keen to share our ideas of that level of experience and our ideas and things that we've been involved in over 3 decades. But in addition to that, I'm going to be bringing you a whole range of different experts from left or right of the pest IT field, and they'll be people that have expertise in business management, or as today when we talk to Ian, in relation to financial processes. I've got some colleagues that I'm going to have talk about termites and setting up new commercial accounts and all sorts of different elements that are going to be a great resource for us all to work with. What I've noticed over the 30 years is the way we gain information in pest management has really changed over the years, both in terms of the different training courses that are available, both technical fields and business fields have just changed so dramatically, but so has the information sharing process. I would normally travel all over Australia to do product launches or training sessions, and now through Zoom and through just the uploading of information on our various social pages, we can just interact on a regular basis. And so that's our plan. Today, I'd like to introduce you all to a colleague and friend of mine for many years in Ian Senior from Refresh Accounting. Ian, welcome.
Thank you, Pete. Hello to everyone. I really appreciate this opportunity to join this discussion, especially as it's your first webinar, and to share some end-of-year financial preparation tips with everyone.
Awesome. I mean, I have to say, discussing finances is really one of my weaknesses. I've owned Pest IT for 17 years, and getting ready for the end of financial year is something that I think we all underestimate. So it's really a great way to share this information. So Ian, just before we kick things off, if you could just give us all a brief introduction to your background and Refresh Accounting and what brought us to this point.
Yes, of course, delighted to. I think we all start our businesses with a dream or vision. You and the others listening will have imagined yourself taking a long weekend off, camping, visiting friends, relaxing with cash in the bank. And then as owners of your business, you find yourself frustrated by the complexities of owning a business, frustrated that you spend too much of your valuable time running it, stressing about cash flow, and struggling to find a private life. All we all really wanted to do was do the thing we're good at. The issue is that you've never been trained to do the business stuff, and you feel like you're learning on the fly, and it's hard work. So to put it simply, our aim is to help businesses improve and become more profitable, so that business owners have cash to do the things that they love to do and the time in which to do them. Personally, I'm a chartered accountant. I've been doing this sort of work either for an employer or for clients for over 30 years.
Great, thanks Ian. Now, before we start talking all things financial and tax compliance and accounting and business strategies, we should probably commence with a mild-mannered disclaimer about what we're suggesting today.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the tax stuff. We don't want to get ourselves in trouble with the tax people, and we don't want anyone jumping in and doing something, following any of the generic advice that we give and doing something that's not suitable for them. So it's really important to know that firstly, I'm not a tax agent, and secondly, any advice is general in nature, and I really recommend that you look at the discussion as a means of gathering information, and then you follow up with your tax agent to get advice that is specific to you and your circumstances. I always say, as a general rule, I suggest that you talk to your tax agent about your tax and super before the year end, preferably as early as February when you're doing your BAS returns for December, so that you can really plan your tax affairs and not be in a mad rush and potentially miss opportunities at the end of the tax year. That's what the wealthy people do, and they pay a lower percentage of tax than the vast majority of the rest of the population do.
Yeah, of course, of course. Okay, so we know that there are simple and essential tasks that businesses need to follow regarding tax compliance as we get to this part of the year, preferably earlier, as you mentioned. But what are some of the resources that we can use?
Well, three really good resources, Pete, are firstly, business.gov.au. It's a really useful website, number of checklists to suit all sorts of business requirements. So have a look at that one. Another is the ATO. Again, there's a host of information to be found on their website. And finally, more importantly, is your own tax agent. While the ATO and business.gov.au site have lots of information, only your tax agent can give you accurate advice relating to your specific circumstances. And your tax agent is representing you. The other two resources are representing the government. So the government will tell you what they want you to do. Tax agent will tell you what you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that you'll be giving some general advice on how we can prepare our businesses for in a financial year. What are some examples of that general advice?
I think there are 5 items of general advice that everyone should consider. And then, as I say, go and talk to their tax agent as soon as possible. Those 5 items are spending money, buying equipment, client invoice timing, stopping work, and superannuation contributions. I'm sure everyone listening has heard of most of these before, but it doesn't do any harm in going over them again. So spending money, many businesses spend up in June to reduce their taxable profits. You buy everything under the sun to avoid paying tax. And that's okay, it's a valid thing to do, unless you buy things you can't actually claim as a tax deduction. So make sure what you buy will benefit you from a tax perspective by talking to your tax agent. Also, now I've been saying this to clients and businesses for over 30 years. Don't spend $1 to save 30 cents. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Look, if your work vehicle needs new tires, and buying them at the end of June instead of the 1st of July will bring forth a tax deduction, no impact on the cash, that's fine. But otherwise, don't just spend to reduce your tax. You're usually better off spending the extra with your tax agent and get a better long-term strategic advice. And as I've said, I'm not a tax agent, so I'm not drawing up business for myself when I say that. So the second one was buying equipment. Again, it's a common tactic used to reduce taxes. And with the new instant asset write-off provisions that allow small businesses to write off capital items up to $150,000 in the year of purchase, there'll be many people listening who are already utilizing this option.
Yeah.
So in addition to the don't spend $1 to save 30 cents mantra, there are a couple of points that I think really mean you should have a discussion with your tax agent before you run out and buy new equipment, or indeed second-hand equipment for smaller businesses. Firstly, equipment has to be in place before the end of June. So buying an item and paying for it in full may not have the tax benefit you think it's going to have if it's not installed by the 30th of June. Secondly, it's my understanding that the instant asset write-off has the potential to create losses that can then affect businesses that are set up as family trusts, have Division 7A loans, issues around franking credits. So, as I say, talk to your tax agent. They will know your circumstances and give you the best advice. Okay. Probably the most incorrect used tactic is the delaying of issuing of invoices to clients for work that's done in June.
Yeah.
You know, people do the work in June and delay until July so they can defer the income. If the work was done in June, it's illegal to defer until July. If some of the work's done in June, it's finished in July, then you may be able to be in a position where you can delay doing the invoice. But the general rule is, you know, don't do it. Just be really careful. And again, talk to your tax agent. As an aside, financially, I would also say that delaying invoicing means delaying the cash going into your account. We want the money in our accounts. Now, stop working. Some of you might not have heard of this one. It's the most bizarre, as far as I'm concerned, of tactics I've heard people use to avoid or reduce paying tax. But I have come across it a few times, so I'm going to mention it. The first time I came across this was when I was in a firm of accountants in London. The client was sitting opposite me, proudly telling me that he hadn't worked for 2 months because he didn't want to pay higher rate tax. I can't remember how much he was earning, but let's say it was about £10,000 per month. So I thought about it and I politely pointed out that by not working for 2 months, sure, he potentially avoided or saved paying something like £8,000 in tax. But that meant he'd avoided earning £20,000 and it was therefore £12,000 worse off. For some reason, he hadn't looked at it from that perspective. He just didn't want to pay higher rate tax. So the mantra here is sort of the opposite spending money one. Don't not earn a dollar to save 30 or 40 cents in tax. And finally, superannuation. So it's about maximizing the contributions as long as it fits within your financial plans. Currently, the maximum pre-tax contribution you can make in a year, including superannuation and guarantee contributions, is $25,000. So in addition, you can make post-tax contributions of up to $100,000 per year. And I think if you haven't done that before, you can add in 2 more years. So if you have the cash, you could contribute up to $300,000 after tax before 30th of June. But again, check with your tax agent, check with your financial advisor. And one of the main things to remember with superannuation is that contribution limit is based on the actual cash going into the fund in the tax year, not what was due to go in. So the example here is if you're an employee and your superannuation is paid by your employer after the end of each quarter, which it usually is, then your current year contributions will have already been paid because it will be the super for the June 2020 quarter paid in July, September quarter paid in October, the December quarter paid in January, and then the March quarter paid in April. So if you haven't paid up to the maximum of $25,000, then you could look at topping this up before the end of June. I'll repeat myself again, go see your tax agent, speak to your financial advisor, and get advice specific to your situation.
Great, thanks Ian. Okay, so from a strategic standpoint, now's a reflective time to look at the year that we've just about to complete financial wise, and also a planning time to look at the year coming. Now, there's been a lot of recent changes that will impact taxation impacts for small business. So what are some of these changes that small businesses need to be aware of?
Yeah, there are a few things that have changed a little bit. So the instant asset write-off for assets costing less than $150,000 has been extended out by 2 years to 30th of June 2023. The superannuation contributions are increasing to $27,500 per year from $25,000 for pre-tax contributions, and post-tax contributions are increasing from $100,000 to $110,000 per year. Other planning matters that you should consider, or certainly look at, federal and state government grants. I'm not going to go into the state ones. There are a lot of available, and obviously they vary depending on the state that you're in. Please check them out. There are quite a few federal government grants too, and it's worth looking at joining a grant watch or notification system such as Grant Connect to keep yourself up to date with potential grants. The one that I will mention though is the federal Boosting Apprenticeship Commencements grant. This one is well worth checking out to see if you can get both existing and new employees covered, as it can be worth up to $28,000 per employee with no limit on employees over the next 12 months. The grant details can be found on the Department of Education website, and don't be scared off by the word apprenticeship, because the grant includes trainees undertaking certificate 2 or higher, which makes it a much more accessible option.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put a link to that that website just in the notes that we provide everybody. And that's really interesting. I find at the moment one of the greatest challenges in running a pest management business is actually attracting new people to our industry. Large businesses, small businesses are all facing that challenge. You know, perhaps it's no longer sexy being in pest management. And so one of the things that I really like is there's new technologies coming into our industry that are actually attracting new people coming into the marketplace. But the one element is also comes down to funds. So if you can tap into some of those funds and actually increase the wage opportunity for someone new coming into the marketplace, it will actually attract new people to our industry. Okay, so Ian, you've helped Pest IT with a number of new strategies, and one of the favourite ones I like to share with people is how you've assisted us improve our business's cash flow. And this is critical for an inventory-based business. But while it's cash flow is important for us, it's also very important for service-based business. Now, you refer to this technique or this strategy as the profit first cash flow strategy. Other people will refer to this as bucket accounting. Can you expand on that technique and how it's worked for us?
Yes, absolutely delighted to. Again, it's cash flow is probably the most important thing for a business to manage. It's probably the number one cause of business failure around the world. So it's really important. I know we don't have a lot of time to go into real detail on this, so I'll try and be brief. Profit first is a method of managing your cash by allocating all the income that you receive into different buckets, in actual fact, different bank accounts, set up to meet the specific costs of your business. For example, BAS, business tax, operational expenses, and profit. The aim is to ensure that you run your business so that it is always profitable. And by that, I mean that your business gives you a financial reward for investing in it, in the same way that you get a reward through dividends when you invest in shares on the stock market. So additionally, you'll have funds to pay the tax authorities whenever payments are due, and yourself to reward you for the work that you perform on behalf of your business. So we all want our businesses to be successful. And this is really a great cash management technique to achieve permanent profitability in your business. I use it in my business.
Yeah, okay. And as you know, we use it in our business as well. And if I can give everyone a bit of an understanding, Pest IT is an inventory-based business. And so sometimes we're shelling out large slabs of cash to purchase, large funds of company funds to buy in container loads of product that come in, and so those production times are sometimes up to 90 days. The sea freight times are sometimes up to 60 days, and so often we're receiving goods that we've paid for, 3, 6, and even 8 months previously. So cash flow for us is really important. So as our operational account funds come in through obviously revenue from our client base, and then we actually just divide that up into various increments into these different accounts. And so I'll have a tax compliance accounts for BAS and PAYG, superannuation account, and employee salary accounts, inventory accounts, and also a profit account. Because what I would normally have, get to the end of the financial year and it's a profitable year, and I'd have no money in order to draw out for director dividends out of the operational account. Well, now that process is actually incrementally put into that account throughout the year. And so hopefully we hit the end of a profitable year and there's funds in that account to draw for appropriate spending on the business or growth of the business or for directors' dividends. So it's really an important way for us to focus and isolate profit to ensure that we have business viability. And I'd recommend that process to all our clients. Cash flow has been one of those things over the last 30 years I've witnessed clients, in difficult situations, and so they're just not prepared for the various different costs of running business throughout the year. So Ian, what I'd like to do, I'd like to invite you back for another industry leadership interview just on that technique later in the year. You be free?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to go into more detail on that, Peter. There's a little challenge. One of the articles on my website has a little challenge, which is if you just put 1% of your income into a profit account, see if you can live without it. See if you can run your business without that 1%, and then see how much money you've got in that account in 3 months' time. And if you want to do that, send me an email just to let me know that you're doing it. That'd be cool. But in the meantime, if you want to find more information, have a look on my website, which is refreshaccounting.com.au. There's some useful tools on there to help you with your business, and more information on Profit First, including a free download of the first 2 chapters of the book, Profit First, written by Mike Michalowicz. And then the email is ian@refreshaccounting.com.au, or you can call me on 1300 895 200.
Awesome. I have to say, you gave me the book. I did read the first 2 chapters. Then I gave it to Rebecca here to say, set this up. It sounds like the way to go. So it's been a great, and a real positive element for us. Now, I'm going to ask everyone that's been joining us, and we've had a great group of people here. So if there's any questions, please just pop them in the chat, and I'll get to all of that. While we're doing that, I might actually just just wind things up, and we'll see how we go from there if there are questions. So Ian, I know your business planning, your cash flow strategies, and your CFO services have been absolutely invaluable to Pest IT. It's almost helped me and my business grow up and actually have strategic planning, both for what's happening at the moment and for the future. So those same strategies that are useful for an inventory business would also be very useful for service-based businesses. So I'd recommend, or I'd suggest people get in contact with you. I'm sure you'd love anyone to get in contact with you, and we'll provide those links. Sound okay to you?
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy to help anybody with their business.
Yeah. Well, I also want to thank you because actually you've moved house this week. And so we've gone through this process of getting prepared for today, but it's I guess, a privilege for me to have you here, and I really appreciate it in a week that's been a busy one for you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. All right, well, just in finishing, later this month, we're going to be holding our training program webinars. And so our first presentation will be an introduction to bird management. And that is my favorite topic. And so that introduction is going to lead to a whole range of advanced areas of bird management month on. So I look forward to having everyone involved in that. That's actually next Thursday. The following Thursday, we'll be talking about heat treatments. And so heat treatments for bed bug control is another new or viable non-chemical treatment process for bed bugs in hotel situations, commercial situations, and at home. And so again, we'll have some great examples of treatments that we've been involved in and equipment that we've been supplying for the last couple of years. So until then, I'd like to thank everyone that's been with us today. It's been a tremendous experience to have our first webinar and also our first industry leadership interview. So again, thanks, Ian. And I guess I'd like to also invite everyone that's been here today or perhaps viewing this at a later stage to feel free to give us examples of information that you'd like to see, be it something related to Pest IT, be it bird management or the systems we're involved in, or perhaps just industry colleagues or industry experts you'd like us to get in contact with to share the conversation of how we do pest management better, how we run our businesses better, and how we all move forward together in a more harmonious way. So again, thanks very much. I've had a great time organising this and getting everyone involved. Ian, thank you for being involved. All right, thanks very much, everyone.